Number 1 of 7. Awful Universe, Yet Awful University. This is the entry manuscript to merit the Nobel Peace Prize, the NPP, for contributing the Paradise Recivilization Principle for the greatest benefit to humanity. These are very good tidings. Chaos is taking over in our midst, as witnessed by the senseless shootings in America and elsewhere. There is a generalized breakdown such that doing nothing is no longer an option. The pretended conclusion of this first episode of the series is to heuristically qualify Paradise as a holistic research tool for the improvement of human living conditions on Earth. We shouldn't rest until the university is as awful as our universe, as reflected in a world of love, peace, and well-being. My belief is that until we do our part in bringing the Savior, will the Anointed One actually come? The Mashiach won't come till we make our Earth a promising world by bringing on the Paradise Recivilization Principle. From the practical side, I'm stepping up due to the failure of secular and religious leadership to deliver a world worthy to live in. We have an awful universe with E, but have an awful university without E due to its unhinging role effect in the shootings by exited student youth, amongst numerous other things. Furthermore, that any solution to supersede modern dualism shouldn't come at the price of relapsing into archaic monism, nor into a fudging pluralism, half right, half wrong, all of the time. We need to gain awareness so as to better align things going forward between the awful universe of creation and the awful university of our own making, from which the blueprints of our social edifice takes after. In the following episodes, I'll give a swift account of my contributing cure of dualism by Paradise. We need to dispense with internal traffic signaling, since what occupies us here is an all-encompassing question. Common sense tells us that if it isn't broken, don't bother fixing it. However, nowadays the consensus is that it is broken. What comes next? That is the question. How does one go about fixing our broken world? We must know how it works to begin with, how the parts fit to make the whole. This opening question was previously addressed. The whole is made up of a triad of parts, not just the parts any which way. This is the primeval sense of the Pythagorean theorem. My recommendation is to view previous episodes, since newer ones build on older ones. Please see accompanying slide. The dynamics of things is a triad of Paradise, not the dyad of opposites in conflict of dualism. Applied to the case of shootings, the parts are things, persons, and institutions. The great step was taken in the video, The Paradise Manifesto, by liberating the conversation from things of guns and from persons of background checks and forward onto institutions of the role that education and the news media play in culture as civilization. Therein the claim was made that the character of modernity is dualism and the mirage of change its personality. Please see accompanying slide. Once having established the connection between shootings and dualism in the school delivery of instructions, and being the case that schools take after the university model, with primary and secondary taken after tertiary, the fix must be at this highest level of the university, for things trickle downward. The consensus belief is of a primeval charge made to humanity to keep the world as our Creator keeps the universe. This is the intuitive analogy at the origin of knowledge that we creatures are to the Creator, as the university is to the universe. Please see accompanying slide. The university takes after the universe, so why the misfit? Our lead assertion is that the missing E in awful to become awful with E is precisely the Paradise Recivilization Principle. It is awful universe and should be awful university, also with E. For the awful university project, we need to scrap all hard borders and backstops of parts and start the whole afresh, guided only by the primeval common sense of toys and apples. What's missing is the mea culpa on the part of the university for its failure to deliver a living world. By neglecting to recognize its failings, it's a cover-up of its own wrongdoings. As friend of dialogue, I am at least trying to fix our broken world by advancing paradise as the principle of re-civilization. Unfortunately, it has taken the sacrifice of senseless shooting victims to heighten awareness of the modern plight of humanity. Let truth be served. Both shooters and shot at are both equally victims of education in active and passive roles of dualism. The university of our own making is awful, all the while the universe of creation is awful, has been and always will be. Our social edifice is one devoid of its cornerstone. What is needed is one founded on Mother Rock. Lacking the mea culpa of the university is what makes it a cover-up, pulling the wool of science over the eyes of humanity. How can there be generalized shootings and widespread homelessness naked out in the open in the midst of so much wealth? Why these contrasts? All these failings are ultimately accruable to the university, not for falling short, that's just human imperfection, but for covering up in the name of scientific research. We have a sick world due to an awful university, no excuse, for it is surrounded and penetrated always and everywhere by our awful universe. Thanks to the university, lawlessness thrives in our world. Shootings, homelessness, suicides, and the road list keeps growing. Somebody has to say these things and say them to exhaustion. Ask not why you, just echo it if you find the calling in your heart. It is university in name only. In actuality, it's a duoversity, for dualism of modernity soaks it through and through. The university is the knockoff of the universe. Phony education, phony news media. While neither are truly real, there is a slight distinction between fake and phony that does make a difference. The difference between fake and phony is that while the former is counterfeit, non-genuine article, the latter one, which assumes an identity, a quality other than its own with the intention of committing fraud. In other words, fake is false while phony is deceiving. It is usurping the place of nobleness, having all these misleading maxims in stone like, ye shall know the truth and the truth shall set you free, or what stars here changes the world, just to name a few that come to my mind. Let's now do a thought experiment to highlight our assertion of qualifying paradise as legitimate holistic discourse of scientific research. A. Scientific proof is based on research, and on what research in turn is it based on? B. And the research, on what research in turn is it based on? C. And the research, on what research in turn is it based on? Our claim is that there are actually 4 and only 4 levels of research, as in the acronym PARADISE in our terminology. That the truth of things is paradise, which is to say that triad parts PRD makes one whole S. Let's use a number and letter code to distinguish the differences and simplify the connection with an acronym of reference. First level 1 Peshat, second level 2 Remes, third level 3 Deraj, and fourth level 4 Sod. Let's start by analyzing the above proof statement. A. Proof is based on research 1P, and on what research 2R in turn is it based on? And the research 2R on the research 1P, on what research 3D in turn is it based on? C. And the research 3D on the research 2R on the research 1P, on what research 4S in turn is it based on? Our claim is that there are only these 4 as 3 in 1 or 4 as triad 1 significant levels of meaning in research. Peshat is plain textual meaning. Remes is remit allegorical. Deraj is discover homiletical. And Sod is secret all. That is, the 1 Peshat is the physical things. The 2 Remes, the ideas, models. The 3 Deraj are the intuitions, principles. And the 4 Sod is the universe, creation. The whole solution we know by its effects, effectually, not causally. Sod is secret. How can we know it? Ye shall know that a tree by its fruits. Only by the final effects can the original cause be manifest. Please see accompanying slide. The next episode will be to dive straight into the theme of awe, awfulness, as well as the lack thereof of awelessness. The end prescription presumption is for the university to take in image and likeness after the universe, as unity and diversity, just as we creatures take after our creator. In any case, my Senate JOC and the NPP bid should be seen as an attempt to holistically align the university with the universe. Please see accompanying slide. For the greatest benefit to humanity, the Paradise Recivilization Principle. I have the calling to serve, the message of paradise to disseminate, and the mission of recivilization in America to realize. Entrale a la bola, no seas canica. Keep weird, folks. U.S. Senate, Texas 2020, and the Nobel Peace Prize as soon as possible. In a nutshell, going forward, it's either promising world paradise or else dualism's hell on earth. Yours truly, Rick, and GD bless.